Hey everybody, welcome to Geeksvana Live. I hope you're all extremely well. It's finally here, the DJI Neo launch. It's in hand here at the studio. We're going to be doing a lot of coverage on it today in this live show. We're actually going to start off, first of all, by showing you the DJI advert, and then we'll come back. We've got unboxings, we've got Q&As, we've got all sorts of things to go through with this, including a very nice top-down table shot so that we can have a look at the drone itself and pay a little bit more detail to it, shall we say, which is sat behind me, which is unusual. I have to get used to that today. But first of all, let's take a look at that advert.
Tuning into 151 FM. It's that time of year.
Watch me go.
Follow.
Unbreakable. So feel the flow. I'm unstoppable. Keep it lit, keep it hot, and I keep it tight. And the way that I move, got you feeling nice. We can take it downtown, catch a party vibe. Move your body all around if the rhythm's right.
Follow.
Now you know. Watch me go. Unbreakable. So feel the flow. Unstoppable. Watch me go.
Quick shot modes. Hey Fly, take a droney.
Living how I like. Run it day and night. Here to pick a fight. Oh. Now you know. Watch me go. Watch me go. Unbreakable. So feel the flow. I'm unstoppable. Watch me go. Unbreakable. So feel the flow. I'm unstoppable.
Oh, we like a bit of GT40. Was that a GT40 at the end there? I think it was. We like a bit of GT40 action, don't we? So finally, after all the discussions, leaks and speculation, we can now present the DJI Neo in all of its glory. And we're going to be doing that, of course, live. Today, we're going to be showing an unboxing of the Fly More combo, discussing my experience of flying the drone. We've had it for a while now, and who this drone works for, who will want to buy it. We'll also be talking about who won't want to buy it as well, actually. We have a lot. We've also got information about some shortcomings I think everyone should know about before buying this drone, in my personal opinion anyway. Being a Geeksvana live show, we will also be answering all of your live questions and having our own little unique discussion here, as we usually do. So in my opinion, this little drone might actually change the landscape in terms of the drone rules in the future. So we'll be talking about that as well. So tag at Geeksvana in the chat with your questions. So you can see the little add plus here, and there's a pinned comment. As you know, we don't do affiliate links as such. Now this is an affiliate link, but all of our commission will be donated to charity. So not only is it not costing you anything, but actually you're giving a little bit to charity if you do it that way as well. So thank you again they're in the chat today, to the wonderful people at DJI Hasselblad UK who provided the drone, provided the freedom to say what we want about it. Maybe they'll regret that, who knows? But also, yeah, the exciting new partnership, which you can read and watch about in our last video. So first up, let's take a look at an unboxing. I prepared this earlier, and then we'll come back and chat about the overall flight experience and that type of thing. So enjoy the unboxing. Okay, so here we are. We're finally at the release day. We can start talking to you about the DJI Neo. Now, before we unbox it, I just want to say a couple of very quick things. If you remember, back when the DJI Mini first came out, so the very first Mini, which we'll have a little shot of here for anybody who's too new in the hobby to remember that, that was actually a drone that pretty much revolutionized drones in the consumer space, and also now starting from the enterprise side of things, as people are using the Mini 4 Pro, its fourth evolution or so, to actually work on the commercial side of things with inspections, etc. Which, if you think back to when that drone launched, you would never have thought that that was possible. Now with the Neo finally arriving, with this, the first selfie-style drone from DJI, I honestly think that we're going to see another similar revolution coming into the space. In terms of, I don't think we really know that we really understand what will come of this drone until it's out there and until we've had a couple of iterations. It's already a fantastic little drone that does exactly what it says on the tin. However, I have a feeling this might actually go somewhere fairly dramatic. We'll have to wait and see if it has as much of an impact on the Mini market, especially to people who are occasional users and that kind of thing, which you'll see in the user segments of this video coming up after the unboxing. Right, that's enough chat from me. Let's get to unboxing, shall we? So, first up, the usual DJI box that you would expect. Now, you have this tiny little box on top here, which you pull out. So you can see it's a small little box, which you would normally expect that to be, okay, that's probably going to have the leaflets and stuff, wouldn't you, Will? You think that's going to be like the leaflets and bits and pieces. The charging hub is actually in here. That's how small this drone is. So it's the charging hub and the cables on the side here. There's also a little screwdriver, which is very handy, which is in there for the props, the prop guard, and the prop, changing the props. And obviously you have the usual charger. And as Linus Tech Tips would say, there's no plug. Grr, how did that become the norm? So there you go. And as usual, you have the charger, which you press the button, it shows you how fully charged the batteries are. These ones are already charged, of course. You won't find that with the one that you're buying. Remember, on the day that you get this, you should really charge everything, update everything, make sure the firmware is 100% up to date, etc., to make sure things run as expected. So that's our first piece of kit out of the box from the DJI Neo. Now, I'm going to play with you a little bit. The next bit we're going to bring out is the controller. Boo, Sean. So this is the RCN3. So there's it's a slightly different model number. However, you're not going to notice much difference at all in terms of the use. And as usual, you have the sticks hidden in the bottom of the controller there. And of course, you have the space at the top here for you to put a phone in and to be able to run the app and everything else like that. So that's the controller. 110% what you would expect so far, really, isn't it? Batteries, controller. And then we have the main event itself, the DJI Neo, which as soon as you get it out, you think, okay, this can't be the drone. It can't possibly be this light. Well, it really is. This is the Neo in all of its splendor, which, as the box is telling us, is 135 grams with a battery. And that's absolutely crazy. So we've got the little gimbal guard there. Very easy to come on and off. So a very simple drone, has the prop guards and everything that you've been seeing in terms of the leaks, etc. So to a lot of people, this isn't particularly, a shocking moment in terms of the form factor, but looking at the size-wise, this is crazy. So, Will, if you come over towards the desk, and I'll show you it next to the Avata 2, which is currently, the Avata 2 is currently sporting the emergency search and rescue lighting kit from Edinburgh Drone Company. We've actually got a video coming up on that kit very, very soon, hence it's on the drone at the moment. But as you can see from the size difference, from the profile difference, this is a wee little drone. And for those of you who don't fly the Avatas, who are the Mini fans, Mini 3 Pro here, next to the Neo as well, to really give you a sense of the size. It's all very well and good seeing this thing in the palm of a hand and seeing just how small it is, but actually I think that will help in terms of being able to see just how small and compact this little drone is. Now, the drone itself is, in my opinion, a selfie drone masterpiece. I haven't had too much experience of selfie drones, etc. I'm going to put a fresh battery in here because we have been playing with this one a little bit. But we have been playing with this drone a little bit, and it is absolutely, I have to say, for a selfie drone and even really for a camera drone, it's pretty impressive. So the usual double press to turn the drone on. And if you look at the lights on the top there, Will, we now have the 6 different commands here. It's currently in follow mode. Bear in mind, I have not connected it to anything at all. Droney, as you hear there. Circle.
Rocket. Spotlight. Direction track. Follow.
So it's back in follow now. Now, I've just taken this out of the box. It's not connected to anything. Let's see if we can fly it straight away. One thing you're going to need to remember is you need to keep your hand very still, otherwise it won't like it. If you're moving around a lot, if the wind's blowing it around, it likes to have a very calm, still position to take off from in terms of your hand, etc. Personally, I've actually found, because I've got big meaty claws, I personally found actually holding it between the finger and thumb there is actually quite a reliable way for my old shaky hands to be able to hold it still. So let's see. Without putting it on the app, without any connector, anything else controlled, you can do exactly what you can do with other selfie drones.
Droney.
And you can basically press it for a couple of seconds.
Close. Follow. 3, 2, 1.
And there we have it. It's now tracking me in the studio. You don't often have that in an unboxing, do you? And that is really more to do with this wonderful little drone. We'll show you some of the footage that's actually coming out of this during this as well, and it's incredible in terms of being able to use this drone on the beach, in a city centre, that type of thing. This is a very, very close follow, as you can see. This is something else which is pretty cool as well, I have to say. So let's say you've launched it on a droney, it's gone flying up into the stars and come back down, and you want to get it out of the air quickly, and you've got no controller. Well, what do? Well, you simply stick out your hand, it recognises it, and turns off within really a second, half a second there. That to me is incredible. And this is why I think that the DJI Neo is going to be next level in terms of the selfie drone side of things. I think we're going to see a lot of people who are sitting on the fence, thinking about flying something like the Mini 3 Pro, the Mini 4 Pro, and thinking that this could be the drone for them. But there's still a lot to deal with. It's still a full drone, really. There's still complexity, controllers, all of that stuff to it. But with this tiny little thing, with the onboard selfie buttons, you're able to conduct missions without connecting anything at all, which I think is pretty incredible. Now, all you have to do in terms of controller ability is boot up the Fly app. We're doing this in real time now. Signed into a special account for this one. So it's detected the Neo, which we've already connected before. It's now connecting the Neo, as you can see on the screen. So this is all in real time so that we get a true understanding of actually how this happens. So there you go, connected. And now you can see my little fat hands in front of there. Now, when you first sign in, it actually gives you, especially as this drone is going to be used for people who are new to the hobby, it gives you a nice little sign in there and tells you some safety advice. It also then, once you press got it, it goes through actually explaining how the drone works. So it'll give you the rundown of how to take off your drone and that type of thing, and actually talks you through the steps, which I think is pretty impressive, frankly. If you look at the next tile here, again, it's actually taking you through the steps to take your first flight. So really incredible. But today we're going to skip that. And now you can see on there, you can see the app as it's working in real time in terms of the start button. It's got the voice activation section there as well, because this does respond to voice controls. And of course, you've got me. I think you can see me on camera there, can't you? You've got me on the camera and on the app, so you can see that was absolutely seamless. Okay, so let's say you now, coming off the phone, want to attach the controller, turn the controller on. Obviously it's already within the Fly app on my phone, and I just attach the controller, and it actually recognizes that this is happening. So as you come back out onto the home screen, it then shows that everything is there and it's controlling, and it's actually got the button here ready for you to connect goggles if you wanted to as well. But then you press go fly, and now it's showing you to switch flight mode, switching. So again, no buttons, no pairing, none of that nonsense. Go fly, and bang. Now we have the app on screen that we would expect to see with a DJI drone, basically. And again, I can do the old double sticks in, and she goes into turn on mode, ready to fly. That to me is actually quite impressive, because when you're out flying this, when you're out enjoying yourself at the beach and that type of thing, I don't think you're going to want to have to repair and turn things off and turn things on and change batteries and do all this other type of stuff. So it's a really impressive drone from that point of view. And I wanted to show you in real time just how quick that is in terms of being able to swap between the control mechanisms. Again, if you switch all of this off, it'll just, which I'm going to do now, and it's coming out of the app, closing the app. And again, it will then switch back to being controlled. It's now changed its little flashing symbol, and it's now back being controlled with the little lights on top on the drone. So you can switch back that quickly as well, which to me is actually pretty impressive. And in terms of a selfie drone, so let's talk about that side of things for now, it is very impressive, which we'll now show you next with the help of the Geeksvana team. Okay, so that is the unboxing. Please again do tag me at Geeksvana with your questions in the chat. I've seen a few coming in which we will come back to as we go on. I want to move on as we've got a few other bits of video to play out as well. Next, we can look at the packages available and the prices here in the UK. There is a link in the chat and in the description to take you to the DJI Hasselblad store and UK stock of the drone. As I explained before, it is an affiliate link, but all of our affiliate earnings are being donated to charity on this partnership, which is awesome. So it doesn't cost you anything extra, and you actually get to support a charity too. I promise that's the last time I probably say that today. I just want to make sure people don't think we have suddenly turned into an affiliate channel. Now, a couple of things not available pre-launch and subject to release date, or not available fully, are the voice controls and using the Neo with the goggles, as these were either unavailable to us or in a potentially different format running up to the release. I've decided to only mention them as spec rather than demonstrate. We'll be making a couple of videos to show those functions coming up. But again, as per other videos that have been out, this isn't really an FPV drone, so we can certainly say that. The goggles have a slightly more sort of camera immersive role to play here, basically. Next up, I want to talk about specifications and confirm the pricing. So first, let's take a look at pricing as I pull that up here. So we have three packages that we're going to talk about. Firstly, the drone only, which of course is self-explanatory. It does come with a battery, which is £169. So £169, and you can basically start using this drone with your mobile phone with the app, or even without the app, just as the selfie mode as I've demonstrated in the studio. We've got more of that coming up. The Fly More combo, so the same one you've just watched me unbox, is £299, and there's also a worry-free bundle available from DJI Hasselblad via the website link on screen and the link in the description, etc. And this pack includes the Fly More combo, 2 years care refresh plan, plus a landing pad and a controller lanyard, which is pretty cool. And that UK pack is priced at £337. You can get UK stock right now, and obviously we're not sure how long that will last, but I know there is some stock in the UK at the moment. Before we go on to the specs in full, another clip to play out featuring our use of the drone on a recent trip, but also examples of some of the quick shots that you can get from the drone alongside our own use of them without using the phone app or controller. So enjoy. So we are in the wonderful, historic, beautiful city of Bruges. This is the view out of our hotel room. And as well as being a wonderful break and a really relaxing time, bit of time away from the business and the channel, it's also been the first opportunity for us to play with this drone that we've had for a little while now, which is the DJI Neo. Now you'll recognise this as the new product. Everyone is obviously raving about this at the moment. It's been an interesting experience from the point of view that we normally actually feature a lot of the leaks on Geeksvana, but this time obviously we are actually using the drone in advance. Now this little drone has been really interesting actually on this trip, mainly because something I didn't expect much actually, and I've only had this for a few days, is we don't even need the controller to really get some awesome flights out of this. Now one of the things this drone does, if I just turn it on here quickly, is you can actually operate it without the need of any kind of controller or even the mobile phone at all. You've got these 6 little symbols here on top of the drone once it's booted up, and as you press the button,
Droney. Circle.
close,
1.
and there it is. It's up in the air, and it is now tracking me in a close format. As you can see, it's already picking me up. So I've really been impressed so far by this little drone. It is so light, but yet it's very sturdy. It will fit in the pocket of my cargo shorts, and I can take it out and about and fly with it. It's also, of course, so responsive from the point of view that you can get this thing in the air within seconds, which is just absolutely extraordinary. So in terms of the DJI Neo and its primary use of being a selfie drone, an Instagram drone, something which is going to help people in terms of, I don't know, people who are not usual drone users, this is absolutely going to be something which I think is going to help a lot of people. It's also potentially going to cause a little bit of trouble in the short term, from the point of view that I think a lot of people will be flying these things in FRZs and that type of thing. It would be interesting to see how this shows up on things like counter-drone tech around airports and festivals, etc., keeping in mind that you don't actually have to attach it or control it by or anything. So there is going to be no controller link even to a phone if you want something like one of the 6 different options that it gives you on the top of the camera there, in terms, and top of the drone there, in terms of the flights that it will instantly carry out, which some of them are pretty cool, like orbits and dronies, rockets, etc. And also, of course, the follow me mode, as you were seeing just now. Now, I do think this is going to be something very exciting. I think that regulators are probably going to need to get their heads around this and realise this isn't a risk, that this is, you know, if sub 250 already isn't much of a risk, then certainly this sub 140, 150 gram drone is something which isn't going to be a problem either. Now, one thing I've also noticed is that even though over here in the EASA state of Belgium, we have a very long upper and lower case registration number, which is always fun, which is actually the Irish ID that my drones carry. It is able to fit underneath the battery on this drone, so at least you don't have that ugly number or giving away your number on top of the small drone either, so that's handy in itself. Sorry, slightly delayed. They're just enjoying watching my very beautiful Joanne there helping me there. So she was a fantastic help. We did also use Joanne because she hasn't flown drones before. And we've got a members video actually coming up on the channel with her first experience of flying this drone and actually being hands-on. She's been around drones a long time, obviously, with myself and my channel, my work. But yes, it was her first time properly flying one without anybody else starting it up and handing it to her and that type of thing. So some of the highlights of this drone include that the takeoff weight, so with the battery, is obviously 135 grams, which is very great, which is crazy, frankly. The palm takeoff and landing, as you would have seen from the opening of this live show, it's also so simple to launch and land. It's also got AI subject matter tracking, which you know that was going to come in here somewhere, those 2 letters AI. With basically multiple versions of the quick shots, multiple control options as well, 4K 30 ultra stabilized video, and full coverage propeller guards. Now, before we dive further into the specs themselves and look at the drone footage, etc., which I've got some more of, as well as answering all of your questions, I wanted to just take a minute and talk about who this drone is for, and perhaps also who it isn't for. Now, in terms of what it does superbly, in my opinion, that is the whole selfie drone side of things. With the phone app, with the buttons here, you can have it fly much further away from you. You can have it take AI photos, so it'll make sure that it puts the subjects in the rule of thirds and that kind of thing. It's very clever. As a selfie drone, it is much better than I thought. I was prepared for a gimmicky and awkward to control selfie drone that I didn't really know what to do with. That as someone who flies all types of drones on a regular basis, I thought I would end up being frustrated by the Neo, but actually, so far, it's actually been pretty good. Now, however, it has actually opened my eyes to the benefits of a selfie drone. I didn't think I'd actually particularly be interested in one previously. And having no, requirement to have to connect to the app, etc., and being able to simply press on the top of the drone and it will reliably get the footage. That for me is pretty cool. It is also for someone who does not have existing camera drone or who doesn't want to carry the camera drone bag around and everything else like that with them. The Neo is a competent camera drone in terms of capturing footage. It does have its limitations. I don't think for a minute this is going to be chosen over any of the main camera drone products like the Mini 3 even, or anything else like that, or even the Mini 4K, frankly. And the lack of full gimbal does restrict it a little, which we'll be talking about in a video coming up. But as an additional feature of the selfie drone, it does the job well enough. So if you buy this primarily as a selfie drone and then you also occasionally want to capture a bit of sort of camera drone work, as we call it, GPS drone work, then that's good from the point of view of that, but it does have its limitations, which I'll explain. Many people who are casual flyers or who are new to this whole thing can get some decent shots. Here's an example of some shots I took at a local park here in leafy Surrey, which is, more flown more as a camera drone style. Enjoy.
Lights shining from the window late at night. I'm just watching someone else's life go by, wishing it was mine. Dreams, everybody has them at the start. Somewhere along the way they fall apart, and it makes it kind of hard to look up at the lights. When the lights go out, everything is clearer. When the lights go out, I can finally see what it's all about. Standing in the mirror, when the lights go out, it's you looking back at me. Try your best to hold on to the rope. We all have a reason to let go, and it's easier to do, but it's better if we don't. When the lights go out, everything is clearer. When the lights go out, I can finally see what it's all about. Standing in the mirror, when the lights go out, it's you looking back at me. When you wish upon a star just to find out it's a plane. And when you think you've come so far, but you're standing still again, and you finally understand.
Excellent. So that was a really interesting flight, actually. Just tried to fly it as a camera drone. And yes, Dan, you're wondering why I'm a little bit redder than usual. We've actually got other lights turned up brighter than we normally do, because we've got this back table set up to be able to show you the drone and have a play with a few bits and pieces, which I'm actually bringing up now because it's an interesting one to explain. So as a camera drone, it does have a few problems. And one of the things that I noticed is that obviously it's a very flat surface. So in terms of wind and that type of thing, this does get blown around a bit without it necessarily having to really be that particularly windy, actually. So especially obviously if you're going up high and you're going outside of the shielded ops area, as XJet would call it, in terms of the trees and that type of thing. So all the footage that you've seen today is directly from the drone. It hasn't been treated in any way, of course. The camera drone use is limited, and as you can see from this next shot, because I did have another shot which I tried to capture a sunset, the drone struggles in low light, both in terms of positioning, we noticed, when close to the ground, but also in terms of wind gusts once it gets up above tree height, etc. You'll see towards the end of this clip that the drone started to lose position and moved around the sky a lot, basically pretty much almost out of control. So this isn't going to be a camera drone god like the Mini series, etc., but I don't also think it's necessarily intended to be one. As I say, it's just that profile where the drone is basically a large flat square in the sky. So when those gusts do get up underneath it, it doesn't quite have the power to be able to fight that. But as you saw from the previous video that I showed, where we stayed in and around tree height, just over tree height, we were able to capture some really good footage. But I didn't want to present that last video as all amazing and it not be, basically. And as you can see in the low light, the camera quality, etc., starts to fade a little bit, but then so does the positioning sensor when it's in selfie mode as well. So it's something just to keep in mind. In terms of use as a selfie drone camera in low light, it's certainly an issue again, and you would not be able to use it much at night, in my opinion, unless the area was very well lit and consistently lit. We did actually have a flight that we took under some trees, which worked perfectly well when we were doing that in terms of, sorry, this isn't particularly glamorous. I wanted to show you working clips of this, which obviously when you're going through trees, etc., you start to get varying light. And when the light had started to fade, but we are talking about 7:45 in the evening here in the UK, which is actually getting quite dark now, certainly just after the official sunset, it does start to waver in those periods between, basically. So it does have its limitations, but then, you know, it's a £169 drone. It's not even one of the Mini drones. So, but I think it's important that people know what they're buying and get the drone that they're buying. We did actually do this little fun little clip here, which also proves something else, actually, which I'll tell you after the 20 or so seconds of this. And that is that we have crashed this drone several times. As you can see there, we flew it at a fairly full pelt into the back of the channel car, and it collided with the front seats and survived without a scratch, without a dent at all. There is actually, the camera is very well protected. In terms of, if you look at the side-on view there, it does have very, very good protection. Obviously, there isn't a gimbal as such to protect, so similar to the awesome Avata over there. My hands in a different direction. It does have that kind of protection, but it's very strong, and it will bend a little bit. It's, you know, there is a bit of bend there in terms of impacts and that type of thing, but I haven't even noticed a scratch on it, and we have crashed it several times, not even just the once, basically. So next, it'll be useful to talk about the different ways that you can fly the Neo. Now we have a page from the app startup screen, which is here, which is useful, and it presents an easy option to fly the drone the way that you want to. As you can see, it's showing all the three different options there. So the three modes that you can use are selfie, and let me just find that one there. There we go. My buttons are going wrong there a moment, sorry about that. This is where it's operated without the need for app or controller or connection. The drone will automatically record and it will follow you the commands. You can have it in terms of further away, you know, you can hold the button, that type of thing, and it starts to talk to you and put the distances further and that type of thing. So there's all sorts of different ways, also using the app as well. This is a simple way of using the drone, and I'm pretty confident that it will appeal to a very wide range of user, especially those who do not want to learn about drone use and just want to capture some of the footage of a family day out, etc. Of course, drone rules is going to be a particular and ensuring they know the drone rules is going to be a particular struggle with that particular marketplace, but that's perhaps one for another day, a fight for another day, as it were. You can also set it up with the controller and via the RC controller, which is included in the combo pack. As explained in the unboxing video, one thing that I do love is that switching from the app mode or selfie mode does not require any steps in terms of pairing or even switching off the drone. Simply connect your phone the usual way with these controllers and plug the wire in and the app to connect your controller. Then you have a very similar experience of flying many other DJI camera drones. Anyone that flies those drones will know that experience for sure. One thing here I'm slightly uneasy about is the ecosystem bringing the phone back into the workflow. For some time now, I have been controlling my DJI drones via screen controllers or goggles, so the phone app has not even really required updating. Something I'm happy about, as the fact the DJI Fly app is not on the Google Play Store, and you currently need to provide permission for DJI to download the app and update it directly. This does give me a little bit of pause, and it's something you need to think about carefully and be aware of when you are buying and using this drone, in my opinion. Now, for the third option, and this one was extremely limited in terms of being able to be tested pre-launch for us. You can connect the latest goggles, the motion controller and or the FPV controller. At the moment, we're making this content, as I was saying, and flying the Neo in the build up to release date. We're not able to connect and take the drone fully into the acro mode, etc. I'm not sure if this will be something in the immediate release. We'll have to wait and see. Some people will probably already know that. Obviously, many other drones that have come out have opened up to be compatible with other drone gear, so we'll have to wait and see. Time will tell in terms of whether it will work with any other screens or any other controllers. But one thing I can tell you with certainty is that this is not an FPV drone, so do not buy it for that reason. It's pretty good, as you saw in the video, the advert, in terms of internals. It's pretty stable and that type of thing, especially if you don't mind flying in manual mode. But this really, this isn't something you should buy as an extra tool as an FPV drone. The FPV, the camera drone, should be the sub reason that you're buying it, basically. Now, the app itself has two formats. One, landscape for selfie mode with lots of easy to follow prompts and some of the best virtual controls I've seen. The lag is pretty much zero. I was astonished. I turned it on, ready to control the drone with the virtual sticks, and I was ready to hate it, but the drone is very responsive. Although I have to say, it isn't how I would personally recommend too much control in terms of complexity. So perhaps moving around a little bit to get a precise shot that you want, that type of thing. I don't think I would recommend it in terms of being, flying off particularly far away with it, basically. So next up, we'll bring up the specs from DJI and take a look, as well as answer some of your questions in the chat. So let me just have a very quick flick of this button, and that will come up. So these are the actual spec list. So we can run through some of the main specs. I think it's a good way, personally, of handling this section. So max flight time. Measured when the aircraft is flying, because again, you get these different things, and they say, it's X minutes, X that, etc. You can say what the box says, but obviously in terms of what conditions they got that, I think that's important as well. But we'll start off at the top. So 135 grams is the weight. That's your size. You've seen how small it is. The max ascent speed is 0.5 meters a second in cine mode, 2 meters a second in normal, and 3 in sport mode. Descent mode is 0.5, 2 and 2 in those different ones as well. Max horizontal speed, you've got 6 meters a second in normal mode, 8 meters a second in sport mode, and 16 meters in manual mode. Now, for me, I think that isn't necessarily a bad thing, because obviously when it's in normal mode and going 6 meters a second, it's something which I think we will want to see people get out of the way, basically. And of course, it has the maximum takeoff altitude of 2,000 meters. And it's saying measured in a windless environment when taking off from an altitude of 2,000 meters, ascending vertically by 120 meters. So that's in case you live up in the mountains. Max flight time is approximately 18 minutes, 17 minutes with propeller guards. Each battery allows the drone to perform at least 20 palm takeoff and landings for shoots in succession. So I think that's an important one, because you know, it isn't for the selfie mode style of thing. Obviously, you're going to be taking off, landing. So I think it's important that they've included that spec, which is good. So that is 20 palm takeoffs and landings for those shooting in succession. And that's measured with a flying forward at a speed of 2 meters a second in a windless environment, 20 meters above sea level, with camera parameters at 1080, 30, video mode off, and from 100% battery level until 0. Results may vary. So obviously there's always a bit like the car adverts you see, isn't it? That say X miles per gallon, but they were driving behind a lorry to block the wind, etc. the whole time. You get those sort of little things, don't you, basically, and the conditions of being able to achieve those results. One thing I will say, actually, in terms of battery and flight time, etc., we only use the drone in 4K mode, and it actually, I just need to check one thing very quickly. It didn't overheat. There was no heating problem. Obviously with the avatars, there's been little patches on them and that type of thing that can get very hot. In terms of when you're leaving it on to update or leaving it on to download the images, which of course it's a built-in hard drive on this one, built-in memory, it doesn't get hot, which I think is a really interesting and important thing to say, because heating has been a problem, as you'll know from my Action 2 video from a few years ago, although I love my Action 2 now. Max hover time is 18 minutes, again with those particular parameters. Max flight time is 7 kilometers, and that's when flying forward at 8 meters a second in a windless environment with the 1080p, etc., and that type of thing. Now, max wind resistance is 8 meters a second, level 4. That to me makes a lot of sense in terms of at ground level and in selfie mode, not going particularly high. As you saw with the camera drone footage that I showed you in terms of the open park on the sunny day, it performed well. But obviously when I was trying to capture the sunset and went above the trees, and it wasn't windy, there was just a few gusts, a very strong breeze, I would almost say, then it did start to struggle. But obviously it is far higher in the sky than perhaps most people will be using this drone. Operating temperature -10 to +40. The GPS is Galileo and Beidou. Hovering accuracy, you can see the stats there, which are, again, is what you would expect with the particular sensors. Internal storage of 22 gigabytes. Again, I have been using this drone for a good while now. All of the footage and lots of other footage that we didn't use, and other tests, and we relaxed and enjoyed the drone around Bruges rather than doing too much in terms of work. And in terms of we just wanted to test it and see how it would work in our sort of our family trip. And actually the 22 gigs was more than enough. I found it to be absolutely fine from that point of view. And class rating in terms of the EU, it's a C0 labeled drone. Image sensor, it's a 1/2 inch image sensor, as it says there. Your lens is field of view of 117.6, a decent ISO range. Shutter max image size is 12 megapixels, 4000 by 3000 and 4000 by 2250 at those aspect ratios. And it has, in terms of single photography modes, it's single timed shot, and it's a JPEG format. Now, video resolution with EIS off at 4K at 30 frames a second, and 1080 1440 by 1080 as well. That's 60, 50, 30 with image stabilization on, and then 4K 16:9 there at 30 seconds, and 1080 there below on with it on, as I was saying. The video format is obviously MP4. So anything else here that I think would be of interest? Obviously, we have that single access mechanical gimbal. Now, one of the things I would note as well is that when you're using this in terms of flying and you are moving from let me bring the table up, when you're flying and you're actually moving from side to side, so that you're basically using the natural aircraft, the being a one-axis gimbal, a one-axis camera, that does mean you get that boaty look on the footage, basically. So just keep that in mind as well. You definitely need to change the stick settings in terms of being able to actually fly the drone in a more sort of cinematic way, should you want to do that. But there is a cine mode as well, of course, on the controller, which slows everything down as well. But even beyond that, I think it would actually benefit from seeing some extra changes, basically. So yes, that's interesting. Now, otherwise, spec-wise, let me take that off and come back up with the specs. Mechanical ranges, the tilt is 120, minus 120 to 120. It was a very good, the gimbal movement is excellent, is very smooth, I have to say. Image roll correction, which is obviously what we were talking about just now, supports correction of footage recorded on the drone. Live view corrections unavailable only when using the goggles. So a little bit like the Avata 2, when you are in the easy acro mode, is that what they call it? The simple acro mode. When you're doing the flips in that, which is obviously via the motion controller button stalk, then actually if you don't have it set the correct way, the footage will take that out because it thinks you just want completely static footage. So it can do that again with this, but it's something that I think you should be very aware of. Video transmission system is 04, so that should get other people excited that perhaps a 04 unit might be coming down the line. In terms of max transmission distances, 10 kilometers for FCC, 6 for CE, which again I think is probably what we'd expect. In my opinion, this isn't a anti-range message or anything. If you're flying it out that far, then something is probably going wrong, in my opinion. So that's basically those particular bits and pieces. Let me just bring up the chat on my side here, and let's go through and have a little look at what people are saying. It's seen many others saying it would be 399. Hi Michaela, good to see you, Michaela Snow. Yes, it is I have to say, when the prices came through, it is something which I think is cheap, basically, for this kind of tech, for what it gives you. I think it's a very affordable way for people to be able to get into the marketplace, basically. And the drone man, using this on a commercial job would be like rocking up to a wedding with an iPhone. Well, perhaps the new wedding photography pack could be a Neo and an iPhone. You never know, with an iPhone with one of those fancy holders that make it look like a camera. You never know. So yes, here we go. Let me have a look if anyone's got any specifics. We'll have a look here. No, follow me mode does not use obstacle avoidance, it is intelligent, and it will move out of the way, and you know, in terms of what it's seeing, the AI is actually very clever, but this is not an OA King drone or anything. Now it does have return to home, and it does use the return to home, the new version of the return to home, which is pretty cool as well. Mudball, why would you want to fly a selfie drone with silly goggles on your head? Well, actually, one of the purposes that I can see that happening for is, one, for immersion, of course, so that people feel like they're stepping up to the next level of flying, because people fly their minis now with FPV goggles and in FPV mode, so that happens, believe it or not. But also, I think for internal fly-throughs and that kind of thing, the stuff that you saw on the advert, which is obviously some very skillful pilots doing that, I think that can help. We have flown it inside quite a bit and had a lot of success. I was looking around, but I don't think we've actually uploaded that because that's for one of our other videos. Let me have a look. Yes, there is compression. The 4K files will be in our other videos that are coming out over the weekend, but also we'll link them as unlisted in the description as well. But there's good old YouTube compression. Even if you upload them in 4K, the compression does that as well. So, which is always fantastic. Yes, as I was saying before, Sneaky Swino, the best place for the let me just get rid of my headphones there. The best place for that, for the operator ID, is definitely inside there. Would help if I turn the actual camera on. Inside there, you can see I've put a label inside the battery now. Obviously, you're able to access the drone and get into it and see the operator ID without using tools. So that does conform to the legislation, basically, which is wonderful, isn't it? Excellent. Okay, so see, there's another couple of questions. We do have some more videos coming up on this in terms of usability and modes and that type of thing. But I wanted to have a more generic approach to this one so that we can see if it's suitable for our audience as well. Yeah, Jonathan Webb, how well does it cope with wind if the max speed is 8 meters a second? As per this video, it does struggle a little bit once it starts to get a little bit gusty. I'll just forward on that. Oh, I turned it off rather than forwarding it on. I'll just forward this video on a little bit, and you can see that once it gets up there above tree height, etc., when it is windy, those gusts, because it is essentially a flat plane, it doesn't have the arms, it doesn't have the space between the arms, etc., like other small drones do to help break it up. So yeah, it's there. Is that one of yours, Aaron? I use a lot of your bits and pieces. Aaron Precky in the chat, good to see. Is this your plugin that's working here? I love it. I've used it for a very long time, so thank you very much for that. How's the noise level? Somebody's asking there. NJS. It's not quiet. It's not massively loud. Now I will do something here. Let me turn off. This is where I'm going to open a thing in space and time now. So I'm going to turn off the noise compression on the stream. Let me just do that and do that and do that. So unfortunately you can hear my fan now and things like that. Apologies, let me turn that off. But let's try and see if I can break a drone live on air, shall we? So you can get a better understanding of the noise. This is so going to go wrong.
Connect to app to see why. Rock spot direct follow. Close. Follow. 3, 2, 1. Unable to take off. Aircraft in motion. Close. Follow. 3, 2, 1.
So there you go. That's the noise. It's a high pitch. It isn't the worst thing in the world, but again, it shows obviously that you know it's that easy to take off. I've just picked it up. I would describe it as similar. I love that. I love how it lands in the hand like that. It's absolutely fantastic in my opinion. It's similar in my opinion to the noise that the original Mavic Air used to make. But also one thing that I did notice is that we didn't get, we use this in Bruges, we use this in France, and obviously now here in the UK as well. And we didn't get people coming up to us and telling us off or anything else like that. I think for one, they can see how tiny this little thing is. So, it isn't offensive. But of course you are flying around much more at people height, etc. So whereas the Mini will get up and get out and is then quiet and people don't even know it's up there, with this people very much know it's around, but it wasn't loud enough to annoy people. And obviously we're in a very small studio with the echoey walls here. So it is loud, but it's about as loud as you would expect with these size props, and therefore the energy, the power they're going to have to be putting through to keep a stable flight. So yeah, I hope that helps. Pop that back over there. And that's basically it. So, okay, excellent. That's a really good one. If the Avata 1 is a 10 and no drone is a 0, how does this rate? Okay, I would say that depends on what you're going to use it for. So as a selfie drone, etc., it's a 10, 100%. As a camera drone, it's a 3 or a 4. As an FPV drone, it's a 1 or a 2. It really is the basic stuff for FPV, to have a little play with FPV or use it as an FPV experience. This is all, of course, in my personal opinion. It is a very good drone, I would say, but that's with the Avata 1 being a 7 or an 8 and the Avata 2 being a 10, because the Avata 2 is just an absolutely crazy good drone, basically. Excellent. So there we go. That's basically everything. Yeah, DJI Hasselblad UK in the chat just saying the controller is available separately from today as well, which is good. So you can make your own bits and pieces there. Yeah, no, thank you, Esprit Drone Services. It's a way of working. This partnership is not about selling drones. You don't see much stuff on this channel selling drones, etc. The partnership with DJI Hasselblad UK is very much about the community and the regulation side of things, which we've got some very exciting news coming up in a few weeks on that one. So yes. Daily Motivation, that's an interesting comment actually, because to me personally, let me go across to my table here. These two drones are completely different and have completely different uses. Now, I actually attempted, not very successfully, to chase this with the Avata 2 to get some cool footage. It's very small to chase, and Joanne was my other pilot, so she wasn't able to keep the constant path, etc. And of course, once it started getting away from her, she couldn't see it, of course, because it's quite small. Although it's pretty good in the day sky. I was surprised how much VLOS it has. But this is a completely different beast. It is awesome. It's a wonderful FPV drone, cinematic whoop, etc. It gets incredible footage, fly-throughs in manual mode and everything else like that. With the motion controller, it's wonderful. With the FPV controller 3, it's amazing. It's a really great drone. But I would not regret buying it if you bought this for that reason. If you want a selfie drone, then you could actually buy this drone only £169, and it will work with the goggles and the control systems that you bought for this as well. So you can actually get the best of both worlds. And this literally fits in the pocket of my combats, and I don't feel like it's going to break in there. I'm a big boy as well, so I don't feel my large legs are putting too much pressure on it. I have walked around with it in my pocket and then whipped it out. That came out wrong. And flown in drone only and selfie mode with it as well. But certainly, yeah, I wouldn't regret buying it, because I think it is incredible. So yeah, and as Cheeky Oscar is saying, he absolutely loves his Avata 2. Once you get used to it, all the features, it's absolutely awesome. Yeah, I do agree. Aaron's asking, is there an option in the follow me mode to adjust the height? Yes, you can adjust pretty much most things. The distance, the height. There's also the AI functions as well, are very funky, especially if you're using the phone app in selfie mode to set things up there as well. There's more. There's also voice control as well, which is, again, using it via the app, which is, it's a little bit of a gimmick, but actually it does work. So that's a good thing from that point of view. Excellent. Okay, Taddy's capturing that comment. Excellent. Thank you, Taddy. That's basically it for today. We're coming up towards an hour, and I don't really want to go beyond that. We wanted to do this live because it's our first DJI product launch. Thank you again to DJI Hasselblad UK, and it's also something that is a little bit different from the point of view that we didn't just want to put up yet another launch video telling you exactly the talking points and that type of thing. We wanted to show how we look at products a little bit differently from some of the other channels and some of the other content out there, which are all amazing as well. I'm off to go and watch lots of those videos, Potato Jet, 51 Drones, all of those guys, and see the kind of content they've put out. Really excited to see it. Again, hit that like button on your way out if you don't mind. Thank you very much for being such a large, consistent audience throughout this show. I do appreciate it. There's lots of other things to go and watch today with this product, so I really, really do appreciate you guys coming along and seeing us. And I'll see you next time on Geeksvana Live. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.